Hi guys, and welcome to Cooking with Cooke in the world's smallest kitchen. My name is Steve Cooke, and these little video clips are designed for anyone at home to cook a little bit out of their comfort zone. Realistic produce you may already use, but turned into some fantastic meals to make in your own kitchen for family, friends, and let's not forget some great little tips on the way. Okay guys, then tonight we are going to be producing Miso Ramen, a Japanese soup broth if you like, but it's got lots and lots of hearty ingredients in it. So if we come down here, we've got 4 free-range eggs, we've got 1 head of broccoli, half a bunch of spring onions, 300 grams of king prawns, and then we've got some dry egg noodles, about 250 gram packet, and then a kilo of chicken thigh meat, which has been diced by our friendly butcher at Handcross Butchers. And over to here, we've got some clear honey, we've got some dark soy sauce, we've got some miso, white miso paste, some sesame oil, and then a little Knorr chicken stock cube. So let's take these ingredients into the kitchen and get cracking. Okay, so first thing we need to do for our miso ramen, which by the way will cater for a family of 4, a good healthy portion this is, hence the 1 kilo of chicken. So we're using chicken thigh meat. If you use breast, it goes a little bit rubbery. So thigh meat cooks really nice. The flavour's so much more better as well. So the first thing we're going to do, if we come over around here, I'm going to take a pan, a saucepan. I'm using my little stock pot, so less mess. Turn on your heat. Now get it on to a nice high heat. On my induction here, I've got it on 12. And then you're going to take a little bit of your sesame oil, which I've got in a little squeezy bottle. So get a nice good squeeze, probably a good sort of 2-3 tablespoons worth of the sesame oil, and then just let it warm up. Take yourself a little wooden spoon, let's turn it up a little bit higher, and as that starts to come up and gets to temperature, we can then slowly, it says, add in our chicken thigh meat. Now it's not about browning this, because it is going, as I said, we want a little bit of colour on it, but it's just more about getting it cooking, and then we're going to be adding all a few aromatic flavours into it in a minute. So as you can see, as it starts sealing the chicken, and again I'm going to turn it up a little bit just to speed things up a little bit. Now while that's colouring up a little bit and sealing, I'm going to come over to this pan, and we're going to get this pan onto boil, which is going to be for a couple of things that we're going to be blanching in this pan. And that's going to be, we're going to blanch our broccoli, and then we're going to use the same water to soft boil our eggs. So if we come round here, we're going to take our head of broccoli and very, very simply just take the stem off, which we can disregard, and then we can turn these, literally, I use a little knife and just cut round at an angle like so that they all fall into nice little florets. Right, so, and at this point, pull them a little, like so they come apart. And again, any knobbly bits, take off and pull apart. Set that aside while we're waiting for the pan to boil. If we come back over to the chicken, you can see it's starting to colour up. Now don't worry if you have a little bit of it sticking to the bottom of the pan, because when we add, in a minute, the soy and the honey, it sort of will deglass it and take all that sediment off the pan. So a nice little stir, like so. Now while we're waiting for both pans, fill up your kettle with some cold water and turn it on to boil, because the next thing we're going to be doing, and this is now the juggling act, is grabbing ourselves a bowl, taking our egg noodles and putting them into our little bowl like so. Now some people blanch noodles in pans of salted water. Personally, a kettle of hot water on the dried noodles just to rehydrate them. So once the kettle's boiled, carefully pour the hot water over them like so, just to cover. Mind your fingers, and set it aside. Now back over here, as you can see, we've got our chicken now nicely filled. Our pan of water is now boiling, so I'm going to take the broccoli, drop that into the boiling water, and we're going to blanch it. Not for too long, just so it's slightly al dente, so it's nice bit of crispness still to the broccoli. Now at this point, as you can see with the chicken, I'm now going to take my soy and some honey. So in goes my honey first. Glug, 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 glug. And as I say, about 3 tablespoons of honey. And then give that a nice little stir. Check out the broccoli boiling away. Turn it down a little bit so it doesn't make a mess. Mix that honey all over that lovely chicken thigh meat. And then in goes some dark soy sauce. And again, probably about 3 tablespoons. Darken up the chicken, give it that lovely saltiness. And as I said to you, when you're looking at the bottom of your pan where it sticks, when you start adding in liquids and that bit of honey, it will start deglassing and taking off the sediment off the bottom of that pan. So now I'm going to cover the chicken like so, and I'm going to turn the temperature down to about 11 and let it steam, let it cook, let it sweeten up, and like as I say, with the saltiness of the soy sauce. Right, now next thing, we're going to grab my little pasta gadget, which I use a lot, and then we're just going to check on the broccoli, give it a little turn over like so. We want to keep, and it's important to cook broccoli in boiling hot water, due to the fact that if you cook it low and slow, then you discolour your broccoli and you lose all the flavour and nutrients out of it. So now that it's been in the water for about 2 minutes, I'm going to remove with my little pasta fork like so. Look at that beautiful colour still. Turn the heat off. Make sure you remove everything out. That's it. Sorry, I need to just, and then run your little bit of cold water over the broccoli, which obviously refreshes it and stops it from carrying on cooking. So nice little bit of cold water like so, and just sit it aside for a second on the side there, and then we'll come back over here, and that chicken, just give it a little shake. Now that chicken's probably going to take a good sort of 10 to 15 minutes for it to even be close to cooking. Obviously the smaller you cut it, the quicker it's going to cook. But let's just turn that up to about 12. That's it. Now, as I said, with the water, what we're going to do is we're now going to turn that back on now, get it up to boil, and we're going to take our 4 free-range eggs. Now, I like a sort of soft boiled egg, which takes about 4.5 to 5 minutes into boiling water. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to come down here, put my little timer on, just as a little reminder, because sometimes you get a bit involved and you forget. So let's put that on for 5 minutes. And then again, the water's boiling. And again, this is where this little gizmo comes into play. 1 egg at a time, put it in carefully and let go. Next one, and this way you don't burn your little fingers. And they go. 4 eggs. Turn that down just to about 13. Get rid of that. And we leave that. When the timer goes off, we're going to run that straight under the cold water and let that sort of stop the cooking process. A nice little shake on the chicken again. Come over, come have a little look at what's going on in here. Smell that?
Smells lovely.
Thank you. Okay, so there we have our honey soy chicken. Nice little shake to make sure it's not sticking. Eggs are now boiling. Now, if we come over to here, and now we're going to just check, grab yourself a little fork, come over to your noodles that have been soaking in the boiling hot water, and just fork them. Lift them up, like so. Little wiggle, just to start separating them a bit. Little shaky, shaky, like so. And then submerge them under the water again, set aside. Now, while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to pick up my little board, give it a quick little wipe down. Mind your broccoli. Now also, with reference to the broccoli sitting there, you also don't want it sitting in cold water for too long, because again you're going to start losing the flavour and then it absorbs and then it's not so nice. So at this point, stop cooking, drain it off in your colander, and then set that aside. So now at this point, we've got noodles soaking, we've got our blanched broccoli, we've got our prawns sitting here ready, and then we want our spring onions. And the next thing we're going to do, next stage, boil that kettle again, and now we're going to use our miso paste. Miso paste being fermented soybean, brings an absolute fantastic flavour, and it's what gives it the comfort flavour to this whole dish basically. So all I'm going to do is take the fermented soybean, the miso paste, take it out the jar, like so. Now this was bought in the supermarket before anyone says, where can I buy it from? It's readily available. So once you've removed the paste out of that jar, you then recycle, pour your hot water in the jug so that it starts melting down the paste and creates that broth. And again, give it a little stir, take it off the sides like so. A little stir like that. And I would just leave that again to break down. So, as I said, we've got the chicken. Just check on your chicken again, a little shake. Your eggs are boiling away. We've got about 1 minute 18 seconds left of that. Broccoli's ready, noodles are ready. Spring onions now, or scallions as some people call them. Take your little knife. I lose a little bit off the end. Throw in the bin. Straighten up the ends. Try not to waste too much. And some people cut their spring onions, cut the ends off and only use the whites. I use the whole thing. It's great flavour. And as you'll notice, I'm bunching them together, how I'm holding my knife. And I'm cutting slightly, I'm holding the whole bunch and I'm cutting at an angle. Like so, more decorative. Doesn't do anything to the flavour obviously, but it looks better in your miso ramen. So take it all the way down, nice and rustic, at an angle, so you have some lovely spring onions to use. So next thing, we're going to just double check on our little chicken. So if you come back over, let's see what the chicken's doing. lift the lid, always lift it away from you. Give it a little stir. Come in, can you see what it's doing? Darkening up the chicken, cooking it nicely and breaking it down slightly.
I can hear your timer.
Oh, is that the timer for the eggs by any chance? Right, so lid back on. Lose that. Right, so timer, let's turn that off. Thank you, timer. Now if we come over to the sink, I'm going to have to move this out of the sink. Washing up bowl out. Turn your pan off. You don't need this pan anymore. And it goes straight into the sink. And you run your cold tap over it. And leave it for a couple of minutes. Let the eggs cool down with running cold water over it. Tip out the hot slightly so it's got a fighting chance. And as I say, leave it cooling down. Right, now what we're going to do for the next stage, I'm going to leave the chicken now cooking for probably another 5 minutes. So the eggs are obviously refreshing, as I said. We've got the noodles still soaking, the broccoli, spring onions, prawns, miso paste. Back in 5. Okay, so for the last final step of putting together this miso ramen, obviously I've got enough here for the family of 4, but I'm only going to dish up 1, just obviously to show you and for me to have a little taste. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, if we come slide round here, now we're going to remove the lid off the chicken. We can lose that for a second. As you can see, absolutely, look at that beautiful stock in the bottom, and the chicken should start to like flaky slightliness to it. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the temperature right up now to boiling, and I'm going to add in my lovely miso paste stock. Now I'm going to add that, which is about 500 millilitres, and then I'm going to add another of hot water of the same amount again, like so, and let it come up to boil. And then just to help it on its way, a lovely fantastic little Knorr jelly cube, stock cube even. In it goes, and that will obviously melt in there and do what it needs to do and give it a little bit more body. Give it a nice little shake, put the lid back on, and while it's just coming up to boil, turn it down just slightly to about 12 on the induction. Now while that's just, that miso stock is now mixing up with the soy, the honey and the chicken and the stock, we let that do its thing. And now we come over to the noodles. And I'm going to go to the sink, drain off any of the water, like so. Use a colander so you don't burn your fingers. And then all I do with these egg noodles, very, very simply, I take some kitchen scissors and I just literally, in they go, and give it a little snip. A few nice little snips, and it stops it from being so stringy, and it's more easy to eat. Little shake like that. Easier to eat and portion into your bowls. So now, again, take my lovely little pasta forky gizmo, utensil even, and then I'm going to put just a little touch of sesame oil, not too much, a little squirt, and just help it turn it over and stops it from sticking so much. And then I'm going to place a nice little bit in the bowl. Remember, this has got to serve 4 people, but I've got a bigger appetite than most. So spread that round a little bit like so, and then set that aside. And then I'm going to grab the lovely blanched broccoli, and then now at this point all I'm going to do is pull the broccoli so it's even smaller florets, so like so, and just place it a bit randomly over your noodles. This gives it its nice greenery bit of edge, like so. Again, remember, you've got to do this for 4. So you've got your broccoli, you've got your noodles. We've got our broth with the chicken, nicely boiling away there. And then I'm going to take the spring onions, and again, just a nice pinch. And I'm going to scatter them over the noodles, over the broccoli. And it's warm, it's not boiling hot, but when we incorporate the broth and the chicken over that, it gives it a regen. Right, now, last thing we need to do, if we come over to the sink again, sorry, swinging around everywhere. Here's 3 I prepared earlier. So these have been sitting in the cold water. Now, obviously, soft-boiled egg, this needs, when we cut it, it needs to bleed out. You want that beautiful runniness to the egg. If you're a little bit squeamish about eggs like that, then cook them just a little bit longer. Maybe about 6 minutes will give it a little bit more firmness. But in this household, we like the runniness. So a little tap on the kitchen side and give it a gentle roll. And then all I'm going to do, if I may, Mary, can I just get over to the bin? And then peel into your bin or peel into a bowl. I'm going to do it in the bin just for speed's sake. Be careful, try not to rip the egg if you can. And then once the egg is clean, into the water, and then we're going to have an egg over here on the board again, sorry, swinging about like that. Now at this point, I'm now going to take the prawns, and always do this last minute. They're already cooked, these prawns, they don't need to cook a lot. So, you know, if you stick them in the broth and you cook them for loads of minutes, it's going to tighten up the prawns. So at this point, I'm turning it right down, take the lid off, and then very, very simply incorporate the prawns into the stock. Give it a little mix around like so. Get them prawns nicely in there. Mixy, mixy, mixy. And then, very, very simply, we take our little bowl. Give it just a little bit longer. Get that lovely prawniness in there as well.
And they're cooked prawns already?
They are cooked prawns, as I said. Now, if you're obviously using raw prawns, then obviously when you incorporate that in there, you need to cook them that little bit longer. But obviously with this, you're reheating or heating up the prawns, which won't take long at all. So
how long?
Be about 2 minutes.
Okay.
As I say, the longer you do it, they tighten up and go a bit rubbery, which is not what we want. Right, so if we can come back over to this board. Now, hopefully, we've got a nice gloopy, soft boiled egg, which should bleed out if I've done my job properly.
Ooh.
Beautiful. And that is exactly what you're after, okay? Now, as I say, it doesn't matter if you're a bit squeamish about that, then cook them that little bit longer, probably a minute longer. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to place these eggs right in the middle of my little dish. And then take a ladle, if I can just, sorry, coming past you again. Take your little ladle, give it a nice little stir up. Now I'm going to take a mixture of the chicken, the prawns, place it sort of around the side so you can still see the egg. And you've got a nice mix of chicken, prawns, and the broth is obviously whizzing round and warming up already. And when you feel like you've got enough meat on there and enough prawn, that's quite a bit for some people maybe, but again, not in this household, then start tipping your pan and taking that lovely stock, like so, and pour it all over so it soaks through to the noodles. Now also, if you really want to, you can pour this stock slightly over your eggs, like that. And when that stock starts creeping up the bowl, like so, don't overfill it, because we've got 3 other people to feed. And very, very simply, there we have a perfect Japanese miso ramen. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is take it over. And the most important thing, like with anything, is a taste test. So, let's dig in. Now, not a good meal to eat with a white t-shirt on, as my wife will tell you, the amount of t-shirts I've gone through. But there we have beautiful noodles, lovely little bit of chicken. Let's twist it around a little bit. Take a prawn. Oh, stay in the bowl. A little bit of prawn. And absolute stunning. And taste the broth.
I noticed you didn't put any salt and pepper in. Do you need to do seasoning then?
Not with the miso paste.
No.
And definitely with the soy sauce, sorry, it brings its natural seasoning. That is probably one of the best dishes and one of my favourite dishes, which, if I'm honest, I cook on a weekly basis for my lovely family.